The topic of sex is a thorny one for many parents to try to navigate with their children. While sex education has been introduced in schools, some experts say more still needs to be done. In fact, one of them believes social media can help in sex education as young people spend a lot of their time online. Let's bring that one expert in. Ayobami Adekola is a postdoctoral researcher at the University of South Africa and joins us live this afternoon. It's great to talk to you, Ayobami. And, you know, I've read your article on the conversation about social media for sex education. And I have to say that I have a bit of a problem with the opening line of your article, which says, most teenagers dread talking about sex with their parents. If we're going to begin anywhere, that's where we need to start, right? It cannot be a taboo subject between parents and children.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, and thanks to good afternoon to the viewers at home. Yes, it shouldn't be, but unfortunately, that's the reality. It is a taboo. Supposedly, most parents experience a great discomfort talking about sex with their kids. The same thing with children. Probably, I know they struggle to discuss about sex or sexuality issues with their parents. A lot of studies have shown that, and the problem could be due to different things. It could be due to the religious antecedent of the parents. It could be due to cultural factor. It could be due to also the age difference too. You know, these are issues that could cause those discomforts.
Yeah. I suppose, you know, younger parents now might begin to change that, right? But we are sitting with that sort of in-between generation where, you're right, there is still that taboo. There's perhaps fear on the part of children to ask the questions that they need answers to. There's a great deal of discomfort, I imagine, for parents to sit down and have these difficult conversations with their children. So how might technology try and sort of bridge that gap?
Okay, yeah, with technology, you are trying to solve so many problems at the same time, because even teachers that are supposed to teach from the scripted lessons that the Department of Basic Education have prepared sometimes skip some of the key aspects of those curriculum, and also because of their own personal discomforts or their background, you know. And so with technology, you can deal with that. You can deal with the issue of parents. You can also try and leverage on technology to deal with even some of the, you know, what I call, you know, some messages that are actually contradictory messages by the community leaders, pastors, religious leaders, to the message of sexuality education curriculum. And so if we leverage on technology and we could curate scientifically accurate information that are age appropriate and that contextually relevant, then it is possible for young people to access those information without going through the barriers of the parents or the culture of silence, which actually is mitigating against the effectiveness of sexuality education. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that you conducted a study in KZN in the King Cetshwayo area. Participants came from 9 schools. They were aged between 14 and 19. And it's very interesting to hear what they had to say about sex education and trying to access the kind of information they need. In fact, one of the students, I'm just trying to find my place there, one of the students said, my parents think teachers are spoiling us by teaching us about sexuality. They think teachers should not expose us to information like that at our age. And that's a very interesting sentiment, isn't it? The idea of spoiling children with information around sexuality. And it's a dangerous one, that sentiment, because children thrive on information, don't they? And if we don't provide that information to them, they're going to go out and look for it.
Right, absolutely. I have to agree with you, because parents and teachers, sometimes they assume the role of moral authorities. And instead of providing very necessary information that we help the, you know, the kids to be able to assess those information that we help them to make right decisions to improve their self-assertiveness, to be able to actually make informed decisions about their own sexuality. Rather, we have parents and teachers telling them what to do or to abstain from sex, but we know that is not effective. It's not about preaching, it's about teaching what have been scientifically proven, that things that are evidence-based, that have been established, that we work and advance sexual and reproductive health rights and services. Let me say this. When I was conducting this research, one of the things we did is to identify 3 basic barriers to sexuality, effectiveness of sexuality education in that particular context in King Tetuayo. So we find out that there are learner-centered barriers, there are educator-centered barriers, and there are contextual barriers that prevent the effectiveness of sexuality education.
Yeah.
So usually what we have ordinarily is you have the government prescribing the solution, or the teachers or the parents. We have research that have done that. But international technical guidance from UNESCO suggests that young people must be part of the solution. And that is one of the reasons why I asked that question. So from their perspective, the young people perspective, what do you think can be done to improve the effectiveness of sexuality education in your school?
So when you talk about, sorry to come in there, but when you talk about social media platforms being used to sort of forward the conversation around sex education for children, what do you mean by that exactly? Because there's, I'm afraid of children Googling things that they want to know and coming across all kinds of, let's speak plainly, and coming across porn as opposed to the actual answers that they're looking for. Okay.
So it is actually, the implementation is not like straightforward. It could be complex, but it is doable. Because firstly, you need to have curate data that's actually, like I said, age appropriate, scientifically accurate, and contextually relevant. And this is not what you can just access on any social media. But it means that even with the availability of artificial intelligence now, we could create a AI chatbot which could become a kind of an applet on most of the social media. Social media is important or an attractive platform because most young people have access to it.
Yeah.
So So now we could create a dedicated, applet or AI chatbot through which the young people can interact with. Of course, there will be a whole lot of process of language processing, getting data that are appropriate, but it is something that can be done. It has a lot of technicality involved, but because of the access that it provides to young people, and because of the confidentiality through which they can access this, they can get information about where they can access services, where they can actually ask questions and they will get accurate answers without anybody diluting it from their own perspective or their background. So that makes it an attractive platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, there are various barriers to even creating a platform like that. I mean, you talk about the King Tetuayo region in KZN and what these students, some of them, have told you about their parents' attitude to sex education. The fact, for example, as I mentioned earlier, the one respondent in your research saying their parents think that they're being spoilt by getting access to this kind of information. So getting buy-in from certain communities for a platform like the one that you're describing might be a difficult one, not only in that area in KZN, but certainly around the country for various different reasons. And then there's also the issue of access to data. There are quite a few limitations to what you're proposing.
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. So with the reluctance of parents and even some people moving from traditional approach to using digital space to advance sexual and reproductive health because of potential danger of that, I think what is important is to is to create an awareness. Because now even older people are now using WhatsApp and they're using technology, even though initially they were reluctant about it. So with kind of awareness and bringing all the stakeholders together and try to highlight the importance and the benefits of leveraging on social media, I believe there could be a shift.
Yeah.
But it's not like you rightly pointed, it's not like it's going to be very easy to do that, but it can be done.
Not easy, but absolutely necessary. It sort of reminds me of the Oki app, which we also discussed here on Daytime Update earlier this week or last week. But essentially, it's a period tracker app for young women and girls for that exact reason, so that they can track their period. But it also provides other information around when you can get pregnant and so on. And that's insofar as the scourge of teenage pregnancy in our country is concerned as well, right? So it's arming our young people with the kind of information that they need to make the good choice, the right choice.
Right choice.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.